Hello and welcome to Lecture 11 of Seminars in Advanced Human Resource Economics. This is a PhD course. And topic for today is the continuation of what we did last week. In Lecture 10, we discussed the impact of technology on labor market. And I'm going to extend it a little bit. This lecture will be much shorter than my previous lectures. The reason is that this lecture is in two parts. One of them is this one that I'm continuing right now. The second part is the presentation by one of the PhD students. This is why this lecture is much shorter. I think it will be maximum 15 minutes. Okay. So the idea is that since I'm covering quite technical paper in this one, and it involves a lot of careful reading, so I'm counting that as part of the classwork. So I'm just going to briefly discuss that paper and continue the topic of labor market polarization from the last class in this one. Okay, so today is April 13th 2020, and this is third of the online lecture series on seminars in advanced human resource economics. Okay, today we will finish this topic on technology. From next week we'll start, but next week the whole lecture will be on HDI. It's already uploaded on my channel. Then on the week after that we will discuss SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Then we'll talk about impact of gender, races on wages and so on. And our last few topics will be on labor market mobility and minimum wages and so on. So today will be the last lecture for on technology and labor market. So continuing from the last week, the discussion was on labor market polarization. The discussion was on how technology is changing the employment rates in different occupations. We saw that routinized jobs were the most affected ones, and over the period of time, routinized jobs have gone. The growth rates have declined. Not only declined, they have gone in negatives. So jobs are going away. They are being taken away by the machines. In a way, this is very important to understand that sometimes students get confused and they don't understand why labor productivity would decrease employment. So their concept of labor productivity is that I can do more, so I should be paid more. But if my labor productivity is because of the improvement in machinery, it means that, in very simple words, if a company is producing 100 units of output, and for producing these 100 units, if the company needs 4 units of labor, and something happens, a new machinery has been invented, and that machine would only require 3 units of labor to produce even more units of output. So let's say with 3 units of labor with the new machinery, firm can produce 120 units of output. So there is no use for the fourth labor. So labor productivity has increased. It means that for labor before this technology, 4 units of labor were producing 100 units, and now with new technology, 3 units of labor are producing 120 units of output. It means that firm does not need fourth labor anymore, and it is quite possible that if firm only wants to produce 100 units, not 120, then the firm may even fire one more worker. So maybe machine would only require 2 people to operate, and that will satisfy the firm's requirement of producing 100 units. That's how increasing labor productivity could actually result in decreasing in employment rates. Okay, so this is what we learned, that in some occupations, mostly the routinized ones, we saw a decline in employment rates. and we saw increase in manual skills, those that were not routinized but manual. We saw increase in those occupations, and we also saw increase in occupations that required cognitive skills. So the question for policy is that we know that polarization is real and it has been happening, and in developed world they are more technologically advanced. In Pakistan, for example, technology, we are adopting technology but not as fast as the developed world. So polarization is happening here and it will continue to happen. So the question is, what kind of occupations should we invest in? Okay, so we have surplus of some kind of some types of labor. We don't have jobs for them anymore. One of the very easy to understand example for Pakistanis is that many academicians went abroad to do their PhDs in fields that are non-existent in Pakistan, or require or they are already saturated. So, for example, atomic energy. In atomic energy, we do not need thousands of employees. The sector is not that big because of the regulations and so on. But if you have PhDs in atomic energy, the chances are that you may need 5 or 10 maximum. So everybody who is doing a PhD in atomic energy may not get a job here because of the saturation in labor market. I know it's a simplifying, it's a very simplified example, but it's one of the examples that we need to understand. We need to know in advance in which skills we have to invest in. If we want atomic engineers, then definitely invest in them. But if we don't want, maybe we could have invested in PhD in some other field, engineering or maybe medicine or so on. So that would be much more useful for us as compared to some field that is not that for which the market is already saturated. So the question is, which type of skill should we invest in? The last part of the last lecture was in the last slide I showed you a matrix, 2x2 matrix, and the combination was of cognitive skills and manual skills, and there were boxes. So one of the boxes was of non-routine jobs, and that required higher order cognitive skills, meaning you need socio-emotional skills and also cognitive skills. You need brain, complex ideas, innovation, technological innovation, and all those kind of skills. They are non-routine and they require cognitive skills. Okay, so these are the skills that we have to invest in. This is the takeaway from that paper. Technical skills, ICT skills, rapidly. This is also being automized right now. So, for example, the very easy example is Canva, CANVA. Canva is a website where you can design very easily logos, Facebook posts, banners, and so on, even CVs. So, it is computer software is taking away the job of a designer, for example. This is something we are seeing right now. We are using, everybody's using it. Same goes for web designing. So there are many websites where you can go and design your own website at a very reasonable cost. You can, if you have basic skills, basic computer skills, you can simply go there, and they are very user friendly. Simply go there, pay for the domain, and tell them for what reason you want the website. They will give you hundreds of different options. Choose from them and add your own information. You'll have your website. So one website designed by maybe 10, 12 graphic designers, software engineers, is taking away jobs of many web designers, graphic designers, and so on. Of course, it has its limitations, but the technology is in growing phase. Slowly, it's growing, and so in 5 years' time, for example, it will have many more options. It will take even more jobs. That's what I'm trying to say. So ICT skills, we have to at least for some years, for even for using those Canva and I forgot the name of that website, the famous one that on which you can buy your own domains and design your own web page. There are many, but the first one was a very famous one. I don't remember the name anymore. But to operate those websites, you also need some basic ICT skills. The online lecture thing that I'm doing right now, it also requires some IT skills. Many faculty members have to learn that right now. So if we already had some skills, it would be very easy for us to record lectures, to edit them, to post them, and many of us had to learn it from scratch, which is a good thing. For in later part of the when all of this is over, then most of us will have some IT skills, and it will be useful for us, no doubt. So the point is that we need to invest in technical skills, ICT skills, and so this is one of the skills that we have to invest in. There are many, but this is one of them. Emails, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, Word, these are the very basic skills. These are some things that some people even don't write in CVs anymore, because you are supposed to know them. If you don't know them, then you are not from this world anymore. Okay. Socio-emotional skills, soft skills, you need to teach them. Machines are not taking over this right now, but I mean, this is not new. In order to survive in a labor market, in order to do well in your organization, you have to have good interpersonal skills, socio-emotional skills. What does that mean? These are fancy words for saying that you should be able to work in groups. You should be able to work alone as well as in groups. You should be able to adjust in different unusual environments. You should be able to raise your concerns, give ideas, like you can debate with your boss. You can have different ideas, but you should know how to put forward your ideas. You should know how to communicate. You should have good leadership skills. Sometimes you don't need them, but if you want to grow in an organization, go to a managerial job, for example, you have to learn how to deal with different types of people. Every person is different. You may, in every position that every manager that manages more than 10 people, you can talk to them, any one of them. I guarantee you that out of those 10 people right now, or maybe in earlier teams that he or she worked with, they will give you at least one example of a person who was good with skills but was very difficult to manage. The reason could be that he was always late, he could not meet the deadlines, he did not listen, he was too strict with his ideas, he was not willing to adapt to different situations. All these kind of things, these are soft skills. Even though my job is to do data analysis, but the job is more than that. I'm more than a machine that can do data analysis. I should be able to hang around with other employees. I should be able to help them. I should be able to seek help. I should be willing to support my team. I should not be ashamed of asking for help. So I should not be ashamed of admitting that I do not know something. I should be willing to learn. All these things are soft skills. So these things are very, very important. Honesty also, creativity also, we need to invest in that. So not only from policy point of view, but also from labor's point of view, from a human's point of view, as a part of the labor market. What should I invest in? These are the answers to that. Learn ICT skills, learn socio-emotional skills, learn interpersonal skills. These are the skills that will save you from being replaced by machine later on in 5-10 years. Okay. So this is where I'm going to start a paper, Otter and Dawn. So this table is showing you the employment shares. So this should be equal to 100, all these things combined. And this is showing you in rows. If you look in this way, it is showing you that, for example, this section right here of managers, professionals, technicians, the employment share has been increasing. Okay. Production and craft, these are kind of routinized skills, they are going down. Okay. From 1950 to 1980, the growth rate has been -5%. From 1980 to 2005, meaning recently, the growth rate has been -38%. Huge. Okay. Similarly here, machine operators, assemblers, routinized jobs, manual jobs. Even in this period, 50 to 80, the growth rate has been -21%. Look at this right here, -54%. So employment rate has been going down because of the machines. The jobs are being taken over by machines because of the routinized jobs. Okay, 30% increase in service occupations. So a big jump in services, 30%. Okay, and most of the discussion in this paper revolves around that as well. This is what is trying to tell also the same thing, lowest skill quintile. So these are the occupations that require the lowest skill. Okay, and then we have a category with everything in there. Now within this category, if you separate service occupations and non-service occupations, these are the three sets of bars you'll get from this data. Blue bars right here are telling you 1970 to 80, red ones 80 to 90, green ones 90 to 2000, and yellow ones 2000 to 2005. What you can see from here is that labor share declined in the lowest skill quintile in all occupations from 1970 to 1980. 80 to 90 also declined, but there was a growth in employment between 1990 to 2000. So first it was a little bit like 0.6 change in the share of aggregate employment, and then it was 0.9, something like this right here. Separated by services, so this is predominantly because of the increase in services. This is what you can see comparing these two. These are non-services, these are services. See that these are the two bars going up, and when you separate services from non-services, these two bars are even higher for services, and these are actually declining. So non-service occupations, their shares declined for in all these periods from 1970 to 2005. In all these periods, these non-service occupations, they have the rates, the employment shares have declined over the period of time. Even though this is the decline is the lowest in the recent period, but still all these four bars are showing decline. In services, the bars are increasing. So this kind of shows you that there is a polarization. So non-service occupations, these are losing jobs on average. Services jobs are increasing. This is what this graph is trying to show you. So polarization comes from two different things, consumer preferences and non-neutral technological progress. So skill biased technological change, this is what we learned in the last lecture as well. So this is the same point. We don't need to explain it anymore. If you are interested in concept of this, you can go back to that lecture. One new thing here is consumer preferences. Think about machines that can do household chores, the simple household works. That would mean that women in the household would spend less time in doing the work in the household, so they can afford to work. And it means that, so when we talk about consumer preferences, think about restaurant meals, and other services that are substitute for household production. Those services would, if labor force participation increases for women, that would increase the demand for these kind of services that would replace the household production, and jobs in services would increase. Similarly, older people require different types of services. Those skill sets would be in demand if the share of elderly people in the population is high. So this depends on consumer preferences in a country, and this could also lead to polarization. And the second point is skill bias technological change. This is what we have learned in the previous lecture as well. Okay. And rest of the things, I think these are partially covered. I think if you read them once, you'll understand. We have covered partially this in the last lecture. Okay, so routinized jobs are the ones that will be replaced by machines that we have already established in the previous lecture, and this depends on the falling prices of computers. The labor in developing countries such as Pakistan, labor is cheap, so machines only replace labor in Pakistan because when they are cheaper. So if machines are expensive, then labor is still preferred over machines. So because the price of computers is going down rapidly, you can expect labor to be replaced when the same type of job can be done by a computer. So the computer that I'm using right now, at the same cost, I bought a computer in 2003, and it was a dinosaur computer, and it's same cost in rupee terms. If you adjust it for inflation, it's even higher than what I paid for this computer right now. It's a good machine, but that computer was, you cannot do anything with that computer if I had that right now. So it was not even a laptop, it was a PC. I think it was Pentium 3 or something. So so you can imagine that the decline in prices. There have been inflation, and many things have changed. Everything has gone expensive. The price of technology is going down. The machines are getting better and better at a lower price. So when this happens, you can expect many changes in the demand for labor. Okay. So in this paper, Otter and Dawn, what they do is that they mention the output of low skill service occupation is non-storable and non-tradable. What it means is that the demanders of this service and suppliers of this service, they all should be co-located. They should be at the same place. So this is why the demand for services is concentrated in the place where the demand is also there. So supply and demand has to be at the same place. That's what this is trying to tell you. This is why this cannot be done remotely. Many robots are being created to provide assistance to the elderly, for example, but they are not yet as close as a human hand, for example, that can do a good job as an assistant, or someone who can provide some medical care for elderly. Okay, so these are the 4 points that you can see right here. These are the 4 local labor market outcomes that are associated with technology, especially in routinized task intensive industries, specialized in occupations that are specialized in routine task intensive industries. Okay, so the industries that are specialized in routine tasks would differentially adopt computer technology and displace workers from routine task intensive occupations. This is what we have repeated like 9-10 times already. These routine task intensive industries would also undergo employment polarization, as low skilled labor would relocate to the manual task intensive in-person services. So this is what we mentioned before. The people are moving from non-services occupation to the services occupations, because in non-services occupations machines are taking over jobs, and people who are coming out of there, they go to the services sectors. This is, of course, this has to be backed up by the demand as well, but this is one of the reasons why employment in services is increasing. Okay, so this is also connected with entrepreneurship. So when entrepreneurs see that there are many more and more people available at lower wages, imagine if somebody has been fired from his job, he was earning, let's say, rupees 50,000 per month. He would be willing to work for even less than that. With anybody that would hire him. So that creates a good incentive for anybody to start a business that could employ these kind of people. And this is why if persons are willing to, persons that are being fired by the non-service industry are willing to work for the in-person services, manual services, then entrepreneurs would be there to absorb them in their labor force. Okay. Third point is that these industries would also exhibit larger nominal wage growth at both ends of the occupational skill distribution. This is linked with wage polarization, not with the skills. So we saw manual skills were going down, unskilled and high skilled occupations were going up. That was the distribution in employment. This is what we are talking about, wage. So wages would increase because, of course, demand is increasing, so price is linked with that. Price of employment is price of labor is wages. So demand for labor increases, so price of labor will also increase. Fourth point is that these occupations will also experience larger net inflows of workers with both very high and very low education, connected with the third point, of course. So they also found that after 1990, the zones that had routine intensive occupations, they experienced a high and high use of computers in the workplace. Okay, and also they also experienced simultaneously sharp differential rise in low skill service occupations. This is what we have mentioned before, that computers are taking away non-services jobs, and those people who are being fired from non-services jobs are being engaged in the low skilled services occupations, and these low skilled service occupations have been increasing. That's because of this reason. Okay, and in this paper they also looked at alternative explanations for the job market polarization. Sorry, and some of those alternative explanations were deindustrialization, offshoring, rising demand for home production substitute among households, and a growing low skill immigration. For example, one could argue that low skill immigration is happening. This is why the polarization is happening, meaning that it is quite possible that people who were engaged in non-services occupations are migrating, emigrating, and people who are engaged in services are immigrating. This is why you are seeing these changes in the workforce on both ends. Offshoring is also one of those that if, for example, production has been offshore to some other country, it means that you do not need labor in that industry in this country anymore. So those people are being fired, and because of offshoring, you'll see decline in employment. However, none of these alternatives were central to their findings. So they tested for robustness of their findings, finding that the increase in services sector is primarily because of the shift from non-service sector, labor from non-services sector to the low-skilled services sector. This is what their explanation is, and they mention that the alternative explanations do not hold. Okay, so this part of this is where my lecture will end on technology and labor market. The second part is the student presentation, which will not be uploaded here because of the privacy reasons. But the first part ends here, and I will upload the lecture on LMS or MS Teams. Also, I will upload the papers, the one that I presented, Otter and Dawn, and also this Otter and Levy and Murnan. I hope that I pronounced this name correctly, on LMS and MS Teams. Okay, so next lecture will be about HDI. The one after that will be on SDG. I'll update you on that. Okay, thank you very much for watching.